All right. This One Time in Real Estate, number 28, season 2. But here's the thing. Topic, FUB. And you're like, what does FUB mean? FUB, like I fubbed up? No. FUB. What is it and what's the topic?
Yes, so FUB is Follow Up Boss, which is a CRM that our team has started using over the last month. And it's interesting because we did an episode called Avoid the Shiny Objects, which was one of my favorites. And I guess you could say, or someone could say, that we are following the shiny objects by adding Follow Up Boss because we actually have a CRM called Sierra as well. However, I have become a converted Follow Up Boss fan, I guess you could say. And I believe that it's a really important system. And so I wanted to share that. This is going to be probably more interesting to agents that are using some type of CRM already for your business, which I know not everyone does. Some people still have an Excel spreadsheet that they use.
Well, I'm with you that it's going to apply to a lot of agents.
Yeah.
But could we make it so it applies to all our listeners about shiny objects?
Well, for sure, we could.
Awesome. Well, let's do it.
Okay. Yeah, this could be for anyone. So basically, I guess background on us. So we have a CRM that I believe is functioning pretty well. And so for me, I was thinking, okay, adding another could be interesting. We've got to get our agents to
time out.
Yep.
Time out. Let's back up.
Yep.
We have Sierra.
Yep.
CRM works pretty good. So let me first of all, client. It's a client relationship
manager.
Exactly. CRM, client relationship manager. We aggregate all of our clients in there, all of our prospective leads, and that's where we work it. We set reminders and we set tasks and other. But there was a thing that we knew that we had to overcome. So here's the thing. We're not one to make changes for the sake of making a change. Doesn't even make sense. As we've talked about, I am a creature of habit. Meaning, if I do the same thing every day. Today, you'll know a week from today what I'm doing. It's just look at my schedule, it's scheduled, and it's booked, okay? I don't like to make changes. I like consistency, okay? So there was no reason, because we know the pain, especially on a large team like we have, of changing technology. Mm-hmm. We probably, from corporate high, are able to adapt a little bit better, but when you have to push that down to 25, 26 agents, you have to push it down to operations, there's some pain. So whenever we make a decision, we look at it, and again, we've talked about the decision making. Upside, downside, can I live with the downside? The upside. So what are the upsides that if we were to change, what were you looking for? What voids? And I hope, we haven't practiced, and traditionally we're about 99.9%. So you better get me. But what is the things that on the upside, if we made a change that we're looking to improve on?
So we did not necessarily have metrics with our current CRM. So we couldn't tell conversion rates. We couldn't necessarily tell how many leads an agent was getting, and then ultimately how many they were selling based off that. And that was critical to us to be able to, we had a gut instinct about what that looked like, but we needed to basically have data. We really, really, really wanted data. And FUB was able to, or is able to provide that for
So
us.
The upside is we are going to have metrics. And there's an old saying, look, if you don't have metrics, if you can't measure it, you can't improve it, you can't train to it. So metrics are critical. Metrics, analytics, whatever you want to call them. Mm-hmm. So one of the number one shortcomings for Sarah as a sales manager, chief growth officer, was how do I actually measure? And then when I measure it, move people. Mm-hmm. Huge, okay? So what we currently have, good system, didn't have that. Mm-hmm. We know we have to go there, okay? Was there anything else, or was that like the big mover?
Well, so I guess the thing I didn't realize that now I do, if you want to go there now, is the way it prioritizes the activity, like the dollar productive activities, and basically it just prioritizes making dials, and so and it records those conversations and it tracks, and it has this leaderboard. So in Sierra, for anyone listening that's has Sierra currently, it's great, but it continues to say it's going to have this beta reporting feature that will show the agents how many calls they've made, what the results are, and we've been waiting for that reporting feature for I guess about 3 years. And Follow Up Boss, we had heard from a lot of colleagues that were using it that it's there and there's a leaderboard, and it basically is, it's turnkey. And so I personally really wanted that.
Great. So the shiny object, which I disagree it's a shiny object, the shiny object, quite frankly, is the exact same thing, but it just looks better.
Yeah.
Or it's the exact same thing and probably costs a little bit more and maybe a little more blingish.
Or just the flavor of the week. There's a lot of flavor of the week type
definitely.
things. Yeah.
And people in our industry, they run around and chase things. So here's the thing. I heard Sarah, actually over probably 2 years, continue to talk about this. I actually also felt like I was putting Sarah, my colleague, at a disadvantage. Holding her accountable to sales performance, but yet she isn't able to hold the agents accountable to the sales performance because she doesn't have the information. By the way, we have gut instincts, we have a general idea, and we've done a great job. We continue to set records, and all's good in that regard. But at the end of the day, when we look at the upside is we are going to have quantifiable metrics. We talked about losing some of the emotion in a fix and flip is just hard data. And then you look at what you're going to, in last week's episode, what you're going to conservatively retail, how much it's going to fix, how much profit you want, and here's all we can pay. Well, in your quantifiable, non-emotional data is great. Are you a good converter or not? And you're not the bad guy anymore. The system's the bad guy. And by the system being a bad guy, it actually improves your relationship. So when we look at all these upsides, great. Sarah will probably have better relationships with people, be able to move people more importantly. And it's not emotional. It's not like you're picking on somebody because you're an equal opportunist. If indeed they're converting well, it's going to be identified. If they're not. And by the way, there's one other thing. Hey, let's listen to calls. So it records calls. By the way, for listeners, we do say that calls are being recorded, so nothing. But we're able to track, but not able to track from a tracking standpoint, but from an improvement process. When we hear a new agent on the phone, we're able to help them. We're able to give them the right words. You should have used this word. It would have helped if you would have used X, Y, or Z. So we look at all those upsides. What are the downsides?
Well, and just quickly, just again, for just context for anyone that has a CRM or potentially Sierra, it was really kind of perfect how Sierra worked as a stepping stone for our experience transitioning into FUB, because we were already starting to use the dialer in FUB in Sierra, using our Sierra phone number, texting through Sierra, and we were starting to do these call reviews so we could listen to the calls, not just in Sierra, but we were also doing that in Zillow and in a voice pad call capture that we have. And so then when we were able to go to FUB, the agents had already understood the kind of the high level usage of that, and it worked really well, I think, to translate into their experience with Follow Up Boss. So just if anyone's wondering or wanting to make that, I do highly recommend it. It really worked well in our experience. Okay, so downsides of Follow Up Boss.
And not necessarily even Follow Up Boss. Change.
Oh, well, discomfort. There's definitely, there's been some of that.
Discomfort in what way?
Change is always going to be hard. So I think we always say that when people are faced with change, they typically do 3 things. They freeze, so they just don't really do anything.
And by the way, that's me with the change to FUB, because Sarah is yelling at me because I haven't logged in. But it's okay.
Yeah, that's good. But we're
I'm
good
frozen.
Now. We're good now. They sometimes have flight. In this case, flight would probably translate to probably just like not wanting to use it, just kind of shying away from the system, which we've had quite a few of our agents do initially. They didn't log in. The good thing about FUB is it tells us that, so that's great. Or fear, freeze. Or no.
They have fear,
Yes.
but they actually do it.
Correct. Right.
But they're scared.
Right.
And change, it can disrupt an organization because when things, especially, here's the thing. I don't love getting comfortable because comfortableness can create complacency, although it doesn't in general. So if there's a way to raise the bar even when things are going great. So many people ask the question, well, you're doing great. Why are you doing this? Well, we're doing it for the aforementioned upside. The downside is we're doing it. And the downside, we're doing it. And by the way, it's not seamless. It's not seamless. Any change will not be seamless. So there is some pain. There's some distractions. But ultimately, can I live with the discomfort? So again, what's the upside? What's the downside? Can we live with it? The upside we already talked about. Changing our business. It's actually going to positively impact the agents' lives. It's going to help Sarah's life, everybody. The downside is it's going to cause some disruption. It's going to cause some people to freeze. It's going to cause some people to flight. It's going to cause fear, all that stuff. But ultimately, can we work through it? Yeah, all that's temporary. And if it's not temporary, then it may not even be the right fit for that person. Can we live with that short-term pain for long-term gain? Unequivocally, no doubt about it. So it was an easy decision. By the way, it was a long decision because it did take 6 to 8 to 9 months. We talked to a lot of people. We vetted it out very heavily. The one thing about Sarah and I is we are not looking to make change for the sake of change. We're looking to make changes where we can enhance. And so again, everybody out there, so yes, we're talking about Follow Up Boss. We're talking about the migration to Follow Up Boss, the improvement. But overall, we're telling the listeners, never get too comfortable. Have your eyes wide open, look around. We almost went to a different system, GGMS. We were close to it. It's not as powerful as Follow Up Boss. It had some different features. But we realized that it was not the right fit. So we're not looking to just run to the next thing. As a matter of fact, we've been with the same CRM for like 3.5, 4 years. The point is, let's continue to raise the bar, set higher expectations, but don't just make a change for the sake of change. Make it when it's and make it before it's needed. Because when it's needed, it's too late. If we had to get to accountability because things are challenging, if we had to get to it because our agents aren't doing their job, but we can't hold them accountable because they're getting mad at Sarah because she's just managing from the gut, or Mark, it's too late. We're getting ahead of this. We're thinking ahead. So this is really goes back to decision-making 101, although it's Follow-Up Boss,
right,
and the attributes of Follow-Up Boss. What else did we want to talk about Follow-Up Boss when you thought about this originally? Because remember, Sarah gives me the topics. I don't even know them. I just now, because we're doing this like splash page that's just going to say FUB, Follow-Up Boss. That's it. That's the only teaser I get. So I actually don't know where we were going. What else?
Well, so it's interesting too because I think we've had a journey of creating ownership with the agents over the last few years in terms of they ultimately have to own their activity. We can't, even we could, but we don't want to just feed our agents like baby birds. We want them to take ownership of doing activities that are ultimately going to provide them with buying and selling opportunities themselves and being able to supplement the leads of the team with the leads that they're able to create, because that's how you create sustainability and you have comfort in this business. I think, and this is a story for another time, but burnout is a big issue in our industry. When you've been in the industry for X amount of years and you've struggled with feast and famine for so long, I think it burns you out. So when you can be the catalyst to provide opportunities for yourself while still being given opportunities, I think it creates sustainability. So, but with Follow-Up Boss, I think it was also creating ownership, which I didn't initially realize, because they're able to see what they're doing activity-wise and then the fruits that are coming from that, because Follow-Up Boss tracks those things. And I think the Follow-Up Boss gamifies the activity as well, which we've realized from a lot of our really successful agents. They gamify real estate in general. They gamify the follow-up process, because otherwise if you don't, you can get frustrated and kind of like over it because you're calling someone ideally 3 times, calling, texting, emailing them 3 times a day, and if they're not responding, that can get a little frustrating. But if you gamify it, it makes it easier to do it. Just do it. And so Follow-Up Boss is the same. So it basically correlates points to activities. And at first I was we're very methodical, as Mark's been mentioning this whole time, and I'm also cautious about things because I don't ever want to think, ooh, this is the best thing since sliced bread. This new thing is going to be the best, and then it doesn't end up being the best thing, and you've oversold it. So I typically go in cautious a little bit just to say, how's it going to work? Let's see. Cautiously optimistic. So in this case, I knew there was a leaderboard. I knew that they equated points. I knew that you could see your daily points. You could see how you were stacking up against other agents. But what I didn't realize is that it also just shows the agent top of funnel, the bottom of funnel, like the process of just, the lead experience, I would say, or the conversion experience. So you have to pick up the phone and call enough people. And this all seems very obvious, but I don't think it is when you're day in, day out doing the same stuff. You don't even really realize the forest through the trees. But if you're not making calls, you won't be able to talk to people. Okay, seems obvious, but if you're not able to talk to people, you're not going to be able to have a meaningful conversation with them. Makes sense? If you're not able to have a meaningful conversation, the odds of you setting an appointment are slim. If you aren't able to get in front of them, the odds of you converting them to being your client are very slim. And if you aren't able to get them to be your client, the odds of you helping them purchase a home or sell their home are slim. So I feel like it simplifies it, and it's so easy that way. And I think it's going to help our agents win, and I'm very passionate about that.
So I just thought of our next moneymaker.
Okay. Great. Should we share it, or should we talk about it?
But I mean, if somebody steals it, it's fine. But your words are better than theirs anyway.
Okay.
You're an author.
Uh-huh.
You're writing a book.
Okay. Great.
Do you know what it's based on?
The lead journey?
Yeah. But Dave, if you give a mouse milk.
Oh, I was just talking about this the other day.
What is that?
If you give a mouse a cookie.
Okay, yeah. So, or milk or what?
No, I think it's
okay. So anyway, whatever that book is, you and I are going to read it, and then we're going to change everything to a lead.
I love it.
Because as you're communicating, if this, you can't do this. So it was like, if you give a mouse a cookie.
I think that's what it is.
Are we sure? That's
it
embarrassing.
Up? There's one about a pancake, but
really? No, I don't know. That must be the new iteration of when you have.
If you give a mouse a cookie, if you give a moose a muffin,
great.
There's pancake.
But by the way, the pancakes and the muffin, the moose now. My kids were a little. That's for your next generation. But anyway, the point is, I kept thinking about if you give a mouse a cookie, and it kept going. Mm-hmm. So there is absolutely no way until you have a meaningful conversation that you can book an appointment, and there's no way you can sell a home or represent a buyer or sell without an appointment.
Right.
By the way, we're coming out with that.
That's exciting.
And it's going to be illustrated. And by the way, if any of y'all take it, we actually are marking this at 17:50, 18 minutes and 1 second. We got it. This is ours. We got it. But I think it's cool.
I do too.
I think we absolutely, and we're going to have it drawn out, and we're going to create it, and we're going to give it.
Okay.
I think that at the end of the day, it's the right decision. The good thing is, even in a little chaos of this, for us still to be positive on it tells you we made the right decision. Yes, there's some pain in any transition, but at the end of the day, the fact that we still believe in it, yes, we'll get through it. So anyway, I love your topic. Anything else?
I think that's it. If anyone has questions about Follow Up Boss, we're happy to help.
But here's the thing. Do not steal our idea because we're going.
Don't do it.
Ready?
Yeah.